All right, let's get into tonight's video. We're going to be talking about Microsoft on an opening range drive breakout strategy, and it was good for about $10,000. There was two trades that I made. I made a trade from last week, which I'll talk about with deep in the money options, and I made another trade today, which we're going to go through here in the video tonight with short-term options. This was good for about $11,000 in P&L. I'm going to break all of it down in tonight's video. For those of you guys new here, make sure to subscribe over at LongVolReport.com. We publish a weekly price action letter for those of you that are short-term traders in the 1 to 30-day window, as well as a value and long-term investing letter for those of you with larger portfolios and that are trading in the long-term window. Okay, let's get into it tonight. As we get through this, remember this is only education. It's not investment advice. Make sure to consult with your advisor. Let's kick this thing off and get into it. It's been a good start to the quarter, and we want to go through this with all of you tonight. So the first thing is this. Microsoft has been on my radar for one reason and really one reason only. If you go back to last April, this is where the tariff pause was. You had this huge rally off of that tariff pause, and pretty much every time that we got to these levels, the markets rallied off of it. So coming into last week, the tech names have been taking a hit. We'll talk about why here in a second, but this caught my radar because we got back to that level, okay? Now, I always pay attention to Microsoft. For those of you that have taken our small account trading lecture series out there, it's about 15 hours. Microsoft is a name I've literally traded for like 15 years. I'm always looking at it, but I started to pay more attention to it because it was at this key level. Okay, for whatever reason, and we can sit there and debate for 5 hours on this, the market's going to defend that level. So I started to pay attention and I took a position last week. Now, fast forward a bit, coming into today's trading, action and coming on the overnight session, Microsoft announced a layoff. Okay, and for those of you that have been paying attention, one of the biggest things right now with a lot of these tech names is a CapEx spending. They're spending a lot of money on CapEx for the AI infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. The market, for the most part, doesn't like this, hence the performance on a lot of these names this year. So one of the levers that management can pull on are cost-cutting initiatives. One of the easiest cost-cutting initiatives, for better or worse, are layoffs. So coming into the overnight session, they announced a layoff. This caught my attention even more since I was already long some longer-term options, which we're going to get into. Okay, so that being said, now that I've set the table, let me give you guys what the opening range breakout is and give you guys some context to that. Okay. This is prior high a day. So yesterday's trading range was pretty much range bound. We didn't really do too much. It's not good for directional trading. So coming into today, 374 was a prior high a day. 367 was a prior low a day. As a short-term trader, and I've done this for nearly 2 decades, is I want to pay attention to where price action opens. So if you look at the price action in the overnight session, as soon as they announce this, it started to gap higher. Okay. So what we're looking for on the opening range breakout setup is one thing and one thing only. As price opens above the range, I just want to make sure that we hold the range. Now, if we were to fail and come back in, it wouldn't get me into this position. But the fact that we're above the range tells me, look, it's likely to continue higher until it runs into overhead resistance. Okay, there's 3 things in every particular trade I look at, whether I'm valuing long-term investments for those of you guys that watch the market call that I put out, or I'm trading short-term. Number 1 is a catalyst. Number 2 are price targets. And number 3 is a structure. Already I've talked about this. A catalyst for Microsoft for me isn't really fundamental. I trade it from a technical perspective. Last week we got to the April tariff lows. You had the layoffs overnight. And number 3, and the most important catalyst today, was we opened above the range. Okay, so as the market opened, I'm just watching to see if it holds bid, meaning if buyers are going to sustain this. They sustain it, I got long. It's that simple. Okay, again, if those of you guys that are new to this, there's really not a lot more that I look at. These are very simple playbook setups, but let me talk about the actual trade and go through it here, okay? And every position that I put on, I'm always looking for price targets ahead of time. In this particular situation, before I got into this trade, 387, 388 was an area of interest. Number 2, there's a gap fill here at 390 as well, okay? So this gives me 2 price targets. So coming into this trading week, I was already long from last week off of those lows, the September 355 options. I forgot what I paid for them because I sold this position and it wasn't showing the cost basis. But this was a pretty decent trade that I ended up selling today. Coming into this morning, I decided to get into all these different strikes to see, again, if it broke this level and it was going to take off to some other targets I had up there, okay? And all in all, this ended up being good for about an $11,000 trade after the gap up today and after the push, okay? So this was a trade setup. Again, there's 3 things I'm looking for: the catalyst, the price target, and the structure. Going back to why I use these options, when I bought these on the low last week, I wasn't trying to time the move, okay? These options last week for September aren't used for short-term trading. These options today, I'm literally looking for, like I said, the opening range to hold, which it did. As it held this range, I got into this position, traded it up to there, get out of the position, and book the gains. Okay, so there's always different approaches to trading. Everything I talk about in these videos in this channel for all of you is correlated to the short-term price action trading letter LongVol LITE. All we talk about is trading in the short-term window. To our world, our definition is 1 to 30 days. It is price action based trading. You guys can get that letter over at longvolreport.com. Okay, if you haven't seen the letter, just go over to longvolreport.com. Again, there's the website here. We put out a weekly podcast you can listen to. Look, if you're not a value investor, if you don't have a large portfolio, it's probably not that much of use. But if you want to learn, you can watch it. If you are trading price action, if you're new to investing, if you're trading a portfolio of like $10,000 to $100,000, LongVol LITE is exactly for you. This is where we talk about price action based trading. Okay, this gets you access to a Sunday letter where we talk about setups. We have quick market breakdowns pretty much every day. In fact, literally today in the active trader chat room, literally pre-market, I pulled up the Microsoft chart and I said, hey, look, this is probably going to set up a position today. And I know a lot of you, because I got messages, put some money to work on that, and we're able to secure a pretty decent gain to start the second quarter. Okay, all of you can get a free 14-day trial to this. Just go to longvolreport.com, click on memberships, click on this. There's also a yearly option. Just pick whichever one you want. Whether you click this or you click this, it'll give you access to the report and the active trading chat room. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget, tomorrow is NFP. It's also a shortened trading week. There is no market open on Friday for the U.S. holiday, and I'll see all of you on Sunday with the next newsletters that we publish.